Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, brothers and sisters. Today, we are going to talk about the creation of the light of the Prophet and all the processes that followed. At the time of creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took from His light and created the light of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In this act, God wanted to create a being of light capable of answering qalu bala to the question Alastu bi rabbikum, where He would ask souls at alamul arwah, the world of souls He planned to create later. God only hears the world of light, and He only wants to hear the words coming from His light and returning to His light. Thus, the preparation that He reserved to the soul of the Prophet was intended to allow him to answer the question, Alastu bi rabbikum. Also, God Himself ensured the training of the Prophet for billions of years. No other being exists beside Allah and the soul of the Prophet. This special preparation makes him a superior being from every point of view. This superiority is due to the fact he was the only one being created from this branch of divine light. The other beings who were created to populate the world could not come from the same source of light as him. They would explode if they were born at the same place as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This exclusivity reserved to the Prophet only confirmed this word. Surely your Lord does what He wants. Surah 11, verses 107. فَعَلٌ لِمَّا يُرِيدُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Alam al-Arwah, the world of souls, and continued to grant privileges to the Prophet and adopt a position understood through the following word, يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيَخْتَارُ. He let His beloved answer the question, Alastu bi rabbikum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him a long time ago because He knew no other one would be able to accomplish the mission. Therefore, they were only both in existence after the creation of the light of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to self-gratify Himself and testify the beauty of His creation. He fashioned the Prophet in the most beautiful way. To do so, He proceeded in this way. He grabbed the Ismu Zati, which is Allah, took out the soul nested in the letter Alif, implanted it in the soul which was inside the letter Lam, and finally, He grabbed the two souls inside the Alif and the Lam to graft them into the soul of Harun. In total, we have three souls which find themselves in the Ismu Zati, namely Allah. If He had not brought in the other two souls, no one would be able to tell what happened. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala associated to the light of the Prophet the one from his Khatmiyah and the other one from Imam al-Mahdi al-Muntazar. All this process is to allow sand history to be reported. Otherwise, without these two souls, the sand history would have no witness and no one would be able to reveal the true story. Then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to create all the worlds. He first created Alam al-Ghaib, the world of hidden realities. He decided to present them to the soul of the Prophet, and so it was necessary to create beings to welcome the Prophet and give him honors. He began to create the angels, one by one, placed them in rows every day. He created thousands and thousands of them over millions of years. This is why there are so many. At one point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided in the creation process to proceed with what is called the rapture of the Muhammadan light. He stopped the light of the Prophet resonating in the soul of the angels He was creating, but still allowed the creation to take its course. To better understand this phenomenon, let us take an example from the world around us. It would look like to someone who opened a tap and used a cup to fill bottles. Once full, he would close them and put them aside. At some point, he no longer uses a cup, takes no more bottles, opens the tap, and let the water flow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stops the diffusion of the prophetic light, but the creation didn't stop. Thus, all these beings created from the rapture of Muhammadan light are devoid of mystical essences. Millions of them were creating during this period of time. They looked like angels, but were deprived of angelic qualities. It's important to note that the first to come out after the break was Sheitan, also called Iblis, and the rest of following him had the same ideology that him. Iblis and all beings were created after the breaking of the prophetic light rightly have noticed they were living with angels but were different. They didn't have the same attitude as angels and didn't feel the same sensations. Also, Iblis and his associates used to complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, they ask a compensation to fill the difference, or they will tarnish the divine justice by denouncing as a partisan attitude of God's part. Then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by his righteousness, gave them strength and power to compensate. Thus, we have the presence of two opposing creatures, those created before the breaking of the prophetic light, and the other came after the rupture of the Muhammadan light, but to whom God, by his principle of justice, has given more force and power. The second group, led by Iblis, said they were superior to those ones have preceded, and who had benefited from the prophetic light. They began to elaborate a plan to eliminate the angel of the first group. Iblis, who was the first to emerge from creation after the rapture of Muhammadan light, asked himself questions. He told his peers if God did this at the time of creation and granted them so many privileges after their claims, it was because of reason. He felt there was a trap behind this organization, but the others didn't want to hear in that way. They were obsessed to eliminate those who preceded them. Iblis succeeded in convincing them to live for a moment with the angels in order to discover what was going on about this differentiation. They joined the angels in their recitations of there were no difference. Most surprising of all, the wise angel asked Iblis to lead their actions, since him and his people had received a certain gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The angels, Iblis, and his family continued to devote as prescribed to them until the day Iblis heard a conversation between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Jibril alayhi salam. Then he understood that the strength and power provided to them was nothing compared to what God reserved for those beings he intended to create. This explains the verse, وَلَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. He went back to his peers and said, I agree with you to destroy the angels, but this is no longer a priority for us. We should rather take care of the being that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended to create, which is more a source of danger for us. He was referring to the Prophet Adam alayhi salam. They searched in the heavens and in all places of ghaib to see where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have put this creature so that they can destroy it before he gets all the benefits Iblis heard about. He told his comrades to destroy all bright places that exist and could shelter a being of light. Every day, he asked his fellow if they had found anything, but they always answered negatively. He reminded that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the angels through the prophetic light. He pointed out that their creation was devoid of light, so they have to interest in mobilizing all their strength and power to prevent the creation of the Prophet Adam. So, they had to destroy, devastate, and make impossible all the luminous spaces that could shelter the creation of Adam. They followed instruction of Iblis without any reaction from angels following them. As soon as they saw the slightest spark space, they went there and devastated, until the day when they went to intermediate space where the soul of the latter lamb which came out from Ismu Zati, Allahu. They thought they had found the place they were looking for, but unfortunately for them, it was a trap. The soul of the latter lamb aspires and destroys everything around it. They entered in that area with violence, but they were immediately sucked in the soul of the latter lamb. None of these creatures were spared. They were all caught up in the soul. Iblis, not seeing them return, asked the angel what happened, but they refused to answer him because these stories did not concern them. Discouraged, he found himself alone. He resigned himself and dropped the idea of fighting against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had no choice to live with the angels, who were now his only companions. Nevertheless, they were still looking for their former partner to find out what they had become. One day, he saw a suspicious place where the ground seemed to have been damaged, and thought this where his former companions had vanished. Thousands and thousands of years later, Iblis and the angel were walking quietly along a path, making their recitations. Suddenly, they saw a being made of clay lying on the way. He asked about it, but the angels were also surprised since it was the first time they saw this being. Iblis realized this was the being he absolutely wanted to prevent the creation. Since then, each time he passed beside, he always had an unpleasant word for that lying being. One day, no longer able to deal with the being, he spat on Adam. The angels were astonished to see that the spit of Iblis was made of fat while theirs was made of light. Thus, they realized at that moment that Iblis was not part of the circle of angels, and Jibril was ordered to get rid of the spit. Iblis, seeing this, understood his spit would not stay in the world of Ghaib, and knew an intermediate space had been created to accommodate. Iblis get more and more furious on events happening. God intended to overthrow him, and this was an opportunity to push him to fault and punish him. One day, the angels sounded a general gathering, and Iblis asked about the intent. They answered him, these were certainly for recitations. When he arrived, he found in the middle of the place the creature on whom he spat at. He asked what was happening, and was told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked to be prostrated in front of him. He could not believe it. That being whom he cursed for so long years, caused the loss of his companions, insulted, and spat on him, is the being he's asked to bow down to. When he saw all the angels executed the order, he said he couldn't do it. When asked why, he answered it's because he's better than him, and he knows the material from which Adam was fashioned. The angel said nothing, and continued to listen to him. He said, خَلَقْتَنِي مِنَ النَّارِ. The angels left, and were afraid because they understood that Iblis did not have an ounce of prophetic light, and was not part of them. In fact, when the break occurred, fire replaced the light of the prophet. وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ. The objective of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking them to bow down was not so much to magnify the greatness of Adam, but rather to recognize the greatness of the light contained in the letter Alif of Ismu Zati, Allah. This light was the one of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not even inserted into Adam being, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made the decision to do so. All these events were part of a divine plan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was willing to confront the Prophet Adam to an enemy. Otherwise, his mission on earth would not have made sense. The confrontation between the children of Adam and Iblis must have been inevitable. Iblis vowed to mislead the maximum of people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, exception of those who came from the intermediate space where his companion was aspired. Do not forget this intermediary space is actually the residence of the spirit of Lam letter from Ismu Zati Allah. In this letter, we find the origin of all saints. The spirit of Alif letter from Ismu Zati Allah is exclusively reserved for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And finally, the spirit of Ha'un letter is the origin of creation of all other prophets. It's important to note that the sparks of light from the letter Ha'un also allow the creation of the souls of the other Salihin, or truthful ones. During the process, the original light of letter Ha'un was becoming weaker as the creation was taking place. At each level of light, beings were created until total disappearance of the light that engendered the creation of souls who refute the absolute divinity. Hence, the last generation of souls from creation does not believe in God. The sparks coming from the being of Iblis allow the creation of Afarid, which are very dangerous form of jinns. The positive part of Iblis' actions, such as a recitation he was doing with angels, was used to create the jinns who believe in God. Brothers and sisters, we have reached the end of this presentation. This text is an extract from the teaching of our honorable guide, قطب الأقطاب الكبير, مولاي سيدي محمد الشيخ. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.